7 of the Piano Skills Foundation Intermediate Level 2. We are now going to start a new memorized piece by Joseph Haydn called Allegro Scherzando. You're going to do a couple of reading exercises in the key of D flat. I just want to remind you to take things slow, even though I go a little fast on the video. Hopefully you're getting the hang of just sort of rewinding the video over and over to see things that you can't quite get on your own. Anything that I can do to help is just on the video, just in demonstration mode. So hopefully you have a good time and keep on practicing. All right, so as usual, the first thing on our list is the scales, arpeggios, cadence, and burlesque. We're going to go ahead and just do it in D flat. As usual, you are welcome to do as many of these keys as you want each day. It's good to do multiple keys. I'm going to put the metronome at hopefully what seems like an easy 100. And the fingering on this one is 2s for the 2 black notes, thumbs are on the white notes, 3s on the 3 black notes. So think in groups. Here we go. Now the cadence. Okay, and then we'll have burlesque. That was it. Your scale, arpeggio, cadence, and burlesque in the key of D flat. Have fun with that. All right. So just to follow up on that, in our octave scales today, let's just do D flat and F sharp. And as usual, you can do as many as your hands can handle, but just as an example, I'm doing the key of D flat, almost all black notes, so I use my 4th fingers on the black notes. I'm going to start down here, so... Just for fun, I'm going to go a little out of order. I'm going to go up from D flat to D. Let's see what D natural sounds like. By D major, I mean. There's only 2 black notes in this one. Okay, so there's an example of your octave scales. Have fun with those. Right, now it's time to do our major triads. I'm going to do them at 104 this time, so here we go. Flat 104. Have fun with that. Right. So the first reading exercise on lesson 7 is called Spring Shower in D flat. So hopefully you'll notice that there are 5 flats. And I want you to notice that the melody is in the left hand, so we're going to be playing the left hand part stronger than the right hand part. The right hand part is in the background. The right hand part consists of a nice little pattern full of eighth notes in what we call a power chord shape. So it's like this, with an octave on the outside and a middle note, sometimes like this, depending on the chord that we're on, sometimes like this. So if you feel those shapes, then you can keep your eye on the music while you're playing it. I'm going to go nice and slow. Let's start at an easy 60, which probably not even slow enough for the brand new beginner on this one. When you first start it, I want you to go even slower. But as usual for the video, we're going to try to save some time. So here we are at 60. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, change pedal, 2 and 3 and change and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, and then the thumb moves up to E flat for the first note of the next line. Once you get that learned, of course, time to do the left hand. Left hand plays the melody with your 5th finger on D flat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1. Okay, so your thumb ends up on C for the beginning of the next line. Now I'm going to go ahead and do both hands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so the thumbs together on the first note of the next line. And of course, once you get that line learned, get your 3 perfects, move on to the next line. Right hand by itself. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1. Okay, now the left hand starting on C here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and back down to D flat. Okay, now of course both hands once you get them learned. 1 and 2. Oh, oops, what am I doing? Measure 5. Thumb here, thumb here. All right, here we go. Measure 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Okay, so hopefully you notice the left hand's playing louder. Once you get your 3 perfect here, put these 2 lines together. As usual, I'm just going to go on to the 3rd line to demonstrate it. The right hand by itself back on D flat here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1. And then once you get that learned, the left hand is similar to the first line. In fact, it's the same. 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Okay, of course, you might have realized that since they're both the same as the first line, you don't necessarily need to do it again. I'm just doing it again because it's the 3rd line. Let's go ahead and play it again. Just like the first line. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1. Okay, so now you have hopefully 3 perfect on that, which you will have already done with the first line. Put those 3 lines together, and then we'll do the bottom line, the 4th line. Right hand by itself first. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, off. Okay, and then the left hand. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, off. Okay, and then both hands like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, off. Okay, and then of course once you get that 3 perfect, the whole thing, we're going to go ahead and do the whole piece at 60, and then I'll show you what it sounds like up at the top speed of 112. Here we go from the beginning. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, off. All right? Now I'm going to move it up to 112. And as I do that, I just want to remind you, the reason you always hear me counting out loud on these reading videos is because I think you should be counting out loud. As part of what you're learning how to do is counting and playing at the same time. So here we go, the whole piece at 112. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 Okay, so now that was pretty fast. So do not expect yourself to get all the way up to 112 unless you're willing to work on it for maybe a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, who knows. But if you don't get it all the way up to speed, it's okay. Remember, it's just a reading exercise. You can get it as fast as you want to. Anyway, have fun with that. All right, so the second reading exercise is called Hymn in D flat. And this one is, of course, in D flat, and it goes seemingly pretty slow. But what you're going to find out is that this new sort of style of playing with a bunch of chords like this is a little bit more difficult. So you want to go even slower than we're going. I'm going to start it out at 44. I might even start it as slow as 40. Let's put it at 40. And then you'll see why slow is necessary. But it's also for the style. It's like a church choir or something, a choral hymn. So watch the fingerings closely and watch the pedaling. Here we go. 1, 2, 4 fingering on that first chord in the right hand. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, and on these chords, you're going to be trying to bring out the top note. That's called voicing. We're going to try to balance it so your top note is coming out. Hopefully you heard some of that. You'll hear more if you listen to it. Left hand by itself. 1, 2, 1, 2, and a 1, 2, octave down. You can look for that jump, then back up, 1. Yeah, so for these big octave jumps, you can kind of develop the ability to look back and forth at your hand and at the music. Really good readers don't have to look down, but these are pretty big jumps for newer readers. So don't feel bad if you have to look down. That's one of the reasons we have to go really slow. Now let's go ahead and put both hands on the keys. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. All right, so that was the first line. Hopefully you noticed me trying to bring out the top note, make it sound louder, and at the end you hold that top note over as you play these chords underneath. Now we're going to go ahead and do the second line. Starts out with a 1, 2, 4 on that first chord, D flat major. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, change pedal, 4, 1. All right, that's the right hand part. Now the left hand, similar to what it did, actually the same as the first line, but we'll do it. Here it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. All right, now we're going to go ahead and do both hands. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. course, once you get your 3 perfects there, put those 2 lines together. I'm going to go ahead and do the 3rd line. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1. Okay, and then the left hand. 1, 2 and a 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and a 1, 2, 1. Yeah, at this point I realize I probably occasionally count 3 and 4 without even realizing it. It's not a big deal if you do that, but try to keep the 2s straight, counting to 2 each time instead of 3, 4 like I was doing. But hopefully you can catch me on that a couple times. Here we go. Ready? 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 1. Okay, I screwed up on one of those chords. Hopefully you'll figure out which one. Anyway, well, I can show you. I missed that chord in the right hand, but hopefully you will recognize that and fix it yourself. It's an A flat on the bottom instead of a G flat on the bottom. But we'll leave it in there just for fun. Now, after you've done your 3 perfect, then go ahead and put those 3 lines together. Let's do the bottom line. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 2 and a 2 and 1 and 2 and a 1, 2. Off. Left hand's turn on C. 1, 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1 and 2 and a 1, 2. Off. Okay, now both hands. 1 and 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1 and 2 and a 1, 2. Off. Now, of course, once you've done that, it's time to try the whole piece. Let's do the whole piece at 40 first, and then we'll try 54 after that. 1. Oh, wait, wrong fingering. 4th finger on top. 1, 2, and 1, and 2, and a 1, 2, 1, and 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and a 1, 2, 1. Hopefully you realize at 40 that sounds just fine. So if you don't want to go faster than 40, that's great. I missed that chord again. I'm going to see if I can get it this time at 54. I'm going to jump up to 54 so at least you can hear what that might sound like. So well, you're welcome to go anywhere in between those tempos, but here it is, the whole piece at 54. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1. Got it. And of course, if the metronome wasn't on, at the end I would have slowed down to make it more dramatic. Let's do the last line without the metronome. 1, 2, and 1, and 2, 2. Yeah, so much better with a little bit of slowing. I didn't mark that in the music, but quite often you're up to your own devices to make things sound musical. Anyway, hope you had fun with that reading exercise. All right, so now we get to move on in lesson 7 to a new memorizing piece. We're going to learn and memorize Allegro Scherzando by Joseph Haydn. So the first thing I want to do is play through it for you. I'm going to cut out and get a little bit different camera angle because my camera's crowding me too much to play it. And then I'll come back and start working on it. So here you go. Now it's time to start working on it. We're going to go ahead and do today in this lesson, we're going to work 2 measures at a time and learn the first line. I've divided it all up, my usual parentheses in the lines chopping up the phrases, 2 measures, 2 measures. Let's go ahead and get started by doing the first 2 measures. Right hand by itself, and then we're in the key of F, by the way. So there's an F scale. We've done that before. Just to get your mind on the key of F, you might want to do something like that. Now, right hand by itself, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 1. And pay close attention in this piece to all the staccatos and slurs. So play it just like I did. Now the left hand, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 1. And of course, you can go slower at first, which I highly advise, but I'm just doing a speed that makes the video not too long. Now, once you get those 2 parts memorized, put them together. And 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 1. Okay, and you'll notice that I'm trying to be very exact with when I lift off on the rests. You want to do that too. So good staccatos, good slurs, all the articulation the way you want it, the way it's written on the page. All right, so now once you have those 2 measures memorized, right hand by itself on the next part. This would be measure 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness, I'm counting it wrong. It's 1 and 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1. And then the left hand. And 1 and 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1. All right, now I'm going to do both hands. And 1 and 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1. Okay, now of course once you have those 2 and those 2 learned, let's put them all together. First time with a stop. And 1 and 2 and stop. 1 and 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1. Okay, I kind of goofed on that. I didn't get the staccato there, but hopefully you heard that and you won't do that. Now the whole line with no stop. And 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1. Okay, and of course once you get 3 perfect on the whole line, start the next line. Right hand by itself. Now I like to back up and do the pickup note here on some of these things. So I'm going to do the pickup note from the previous line. And 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. So it's very similar to the first line, just a little bit different. Now I'm going to do the left hand by itself. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And of course, once you have that memorized, put both hands together. And 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, and then on to the next 2 measures. Once you have 3 perfect by memory at least, we're going to do the right hand here. 1. Oh, no, I need to explain one thing. There is a repeat sign here. So we're going to practice this right hand part going back to the beginning the first time. Then I'll do it again with the repeat. Maybe I'll go through the whole process. Right hand, left hand, both to there. And then again, right hand, left hand, both to there, just to show you the routine. So right hand, left hand, both to the repeat. This is starting at measure 5, 6, 7. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, so I just took the repeat. Of course, you should be going much slower than this when you're first learning it, about 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 1. So you could go that slow or even slower. I tend to go a little fast on these videos, so don't think you should go that fast. Left hand's turn on that same stretch, measure 7. 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2, and then back up and 1. Okay, so now both hands going from here back to measure 1 on the repeat goes like this. 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, now let's do that again, but this time we'll take on to the next part so you have practiced it both ways. 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 1. So I had to jump down and play that. You'll go ahead and get that right hand memorized to there. Left hand, 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, now I'm going to do both hands. 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 1. And that was from measure 7 all the way to measure 9, the first note of measure 9. And I'm going to go ahead and put this whole line together with the stops going to the repeat. And 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and stop. 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, now we're going to do it without the stop. And 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, now let's do that routine again on this line with the stop going to here instead of taking the repeat. So, and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and stop. 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 1. All right, now I'm going to do that whole line without the stop. And 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, so now once you get 3 perfect there and 3 perfect on this, let's put it all together once with the repeat. So essentially I'm just going to play those 2 lines twice so you can hear it, and that'll be enough. And that was the first 8 measures of Allegro Scherzando. Have fun with that.